Well, at the time that I became the executive director of Sullivan, the field was really just beginning. There were more individuals with developmental disabilities that lived in the institutions, that lived in the community.
You know, we were part of big doings at the time.
One of my goals and aspirations was to take everybody out of the 21 institutions in New York State that served the developmental disabilities that belong to Sullivan County, and to bring them back to Sullivan County. And I'm proud to say that in my 11 years there, we accomplished that goal.
And we were deinstitutionalizing the large institutions, the developmental centers. And we were working with families who were directly involved in this, the communities, and we're bringing back the people from the county of origin was a term on paperwork, and you know, as we developed our programs so that these folks could come back to where they had originally been born.
So I think myself and a lot of the other execs that were around at the time, we saw ourselves as somewhat pioneers, and I think myself, as well as some of these other professionals, both in our organization and in other organizations, we saw it as almost a civil rights issue.
He always kept us mindful, as I say, in his meetings, and the way he influenced everybody at that table to be the best service providers in this field of developmental disabilities. We were the not-for-profits. We were the ones who got it done. We were effecting the Willowbrook consent decree.
I noticed that whenever we were planning to do something, have some people coming in, Mark would bring in bagels and lox and cream cheese like we had money to roll in, and we didn't have a nickel to do a damn thing. And we always looked good. And as he once told me, I did similar kinds of things, but not quite to the extent that Mark would go. He made a statement, and it's true. You have to look good before you are good. And I really appreciate that, because I did the same thing.
And I loved going to his meetings. I know I missed the heyday of the Catskill resorts, but I have my memories of Marc Brandt running his very big table meetings over there in South Fallsburg. And it's from these meetings that I'll share two memories with Mark. At my first admit meeting, Mark asked me during the coffee break how things were going on the job. And he also asked if I'd had the locks. Now, I explained that this Irish boy from Long Island had absolutely no experience and no interest in having locks, thank you. But Mark put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Oh, Eddie, you're in the mountains now. You have to try the locks." And he made me a lox, cream cheese, and onion rings on an open bagel, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
He taught me how to deal with various kinds of stressors which occur to an executive director on a regular basis.
I remember at times I would storm into Mark's office feeling really angry about something that was going on in the agency, and me wanting him to fix the problem. And after chatting with him a while, I would leave his office smiling, feeling very confident that I could solve the problem on my own, and feeling good about that. And he had that knack of instilling confidence in you, that you could handle anything on your own. And I really appreciate that about him.
If it was right, it was right. If it was wrong, it was wrong. And he was was such a diplomat, he could almost fire somebody and then shake his hand, thank him for doing it.
If there were a gentleman sitting somewhere in the audience whose name was Marc Brandt, I'd like to tell him that there's a man tied up in the middle of the road in Parksville. The man has red hair and he's chained up to a chair, and I need him to come right out now and help me because this is how we met.
At my first day at my new job at the Schoharie ARC, I found a dummy that was used by Mark and I to kid each other. I don't know how we got started with it. I don't know what happened to this dummy. I have no idea. But it was in my chair, in my new executive director's chair. And I just cracked up, going to work, first day of work, your little anxiety. After that, I didn't have much anxiety.
Marc Brandt was in his office, which was in the schoolhouse in Parksville. And I was looking forward to meeting him. And I had some ideas. I know he certainly did. And I wanted him to start to share some things with the CP Center. And one of them was the development of a sheltered workshop. And guess what? It happened. And he'd be so tired, he'd come in and he'd lie down. We had a window seat and he'd lie down. We used to say, you'll never sleep at night. And he would always tell us, he always takes a nap before he goes to sleep. And we'd have so much fun with that expression. I always take a nap before I go to sleep.
But Mark also kept us available for change. There were buzzwords and terms like normalization and family scale. So even as we worked in our current programs, he was preparing us for things down the road where we would need to change what we had just set up. Mark's last admin meeting was ostensibly a training seminar on change and dealing with change. So he entertained everyone with, he'd like your video set up here. He had 2 overhead projectors. And he only had 2 because the bulbs had burned out on the other 2. That was really his goal, to have 4 simultaneous overhead projectors going. But he also had a lot of quotes from Machiavelli on, on no one really believing in anything new until they'd had actual experience of it. And as I said, he was a real inspiration, and you took these things and went to work with them. And then at the very end, of course, he shared that he was in fact leaving Sullivan County ARC and our family, and how are we going to continue? But we did, and he went on to. Actually, I thought he was going to become the governor of New York at the time. That was one of the rumors.
He taught me how to be an executive director. So there were many, many things that I learned from Mark. And one of the things which he may not necessarily like, but I also learned what not to do.
I just want to thank Mark for giving me a chance. Back then, I know he didn't believe that I could do an office job because I was just a little school bus driver. But I'm coming upon 35 years, Mark, so I think I did something right.
Hi Mark, how you doing? It's Marty. Haven't seen you in quite a while, miss you. You were the best executive director we ever had here as far as I'm concerned. I miss the good old days, the time when you used to borrow my car to go to Albany sometime, that big old 98 holes I had.
Another little story is that Mark introduced me to the gentleman who became my best friend, and that was Dan Berkowitz.
Congratulations on your retirement.
I want to wish you a very happy, healthy retirement. And think about those good old days up in the upper campus when we had wine and cheese on Fridays. Good luck, Mark.